G'day guys, welcome to part 7. We're not going to talk, we're going to get right into it.
This is the front part of the sump, or forms up part of the sump, over the front of the main bearing cap, which is that one, and sits thusly. There's 2 new corks in that, which I've had to just trim slightly. I'll put some sealer on them and slide that in and screw it in with those 2. Just watch the corks don't catch in there. It's a tight fit, but yeah, it should tap into place all right and seal up. And then, as I say, the 2 screws there to seal it. Well, that tapped into place fairly easy. A little bit tight on the corks. Yeah, just make sure it's sitting in flush and square, because there will be a gasket that goes across there. And trim off your cork to suit. Tighten your screws down, we should be all right. Yeah, that's nice and easy. On the rear bearing cap, obviously you've got the seal rear main retainer, which I've fitted. In those 2 slots there is a felt, which looks like these. Now, I'm presuming that you just stuff as much of them in there as you can get and trim off any excess. Now, it says in the book to coat these in shellac. Well, I ain't got any of that. I'm not even 100% sure what it is. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on them so they swell a bit or whatever, and then just sort of try and stuff as much of them in as I can. They're pretty long. They go down to about there, so they're the full length of that cap. And that's probably, looking at it, probably so much. So I'll try and compress it and push it in. Just got to find something suitable to push it with. I'm thinking just a small Phillips head screwdriver at this stage. Well, I just used a bit of WD-40 to lube that. Just pushed it right in, took the whole lot. As you can see, it's sort of, pretty long. Comparing it to the block, you can sort of see how long that is, but it's all stuffed in, so I'm presuming it's right. When I put the pan on, I'll just put a bit of sealer over that and hope to Christ that's it. Well, guys, you know me, I chop and change. Just cleaning up the housing for the oil filter cartridge or canister or whatever. Just clean up the mating surfaces, so on and so on. I pulled the pressure valve out. Also on top, you can see there's a little brass tag, whatever, just saying, from Techelmit, and telling you what type element. I don't know if you can read that or not. Just cleaned up. I couldn't get, that's a ball on a spring in there, a one-way valve. I couldn't get that out. Didn't try too hard. Just sort of cleaned around it, so hopefully that's all right. Just got to clean up them. The actual main cartridge, I'll powder coat black. I'll just leave that how it is. Just cleaned that right up. Bit of sandblasting, bit of this, bit of that, and just cleaning up the bits now. And I didn't change the adjustment. As you can see, that's an adjustment there for that ball and spring. The tension on that, and that'll probably change oil pressure. I'll have a look in the book and see what it should be, but I won't change it at this point. Well, the housing's cleaned up, guys. Excuse me, just clean up the nuts and bolts. I put a new copper washer in there. You can probably see that. It just needs a gasket, and that can be bolted on. I've just got to do the canister like I say, but that's starting to, that'll look pretty smart. Well, there we have our oil filters canister, cleaned up, powder coated, new element, cleaned up the bolt, put a couple of new washers under the end of it. We can put that on and she's done. Incredible what a bit of a clean up and paint and detail will do for a poor old 1952 engine. Trying to stick with a bit of a theme here. Sandblasted aluminium for that oil filter housing, as you know. Also gone with sandblasted aluminium for the oil filler. Give the cap a little bit of a polish there, put a new gasket on it. Yeah, just, I mean, it won't be everything, but I'm just trying to stick with a bit of a theme. Well, we got the new rod bushes reamed out or honed out, whatever he did. And it all fits beautifully. The pins fit beautifully in the connecting rods. Time to put the pistons on. The book says that slot or that split must go in line with the conrod cap. So I'm taking that to mean that side. You can see the angle it's on up in there. So we push the pin in. We'll put our split pins in, our circlips in now, which is those. Then we'll do the rings. In the piston is a slot for the circlips to go in. Make sure it definitely clicks in. I have heard of these coming out and getting stuck between the piston and the bore. I don't know how, but I have heard of it happening, so make sure they're sitting in properly. Piston rings come in a bag like so. They're all in order. Bottom ring, which is that one, that's an oil control ring. And these are above the gudgeon pin. That's scraper, compression, or compression scraper, whatever. And oil control ring. That oil control ring is different to that one. That has a spring inside it. That one is a one-piece thing. There's a little instruction sheet comes in the box. I'm trying to do this one-handed. Little instruction sheet tells you how to do it. It's pretty straightforward, guys. This is your scraper ring or whatever it is. It's got top written on it. That means it goes to the top of the piston like so. If you look at the profile, I doubt I'll be able to get it in focus. There's a definite notch cut in it. So yeah, just make sure, it's the only one that's got top written on it, but just make sure you put it the right way. Pistons are in, guys. I didn't show you putting them in. We've seen it 100 times. Just watch your clamps. Don't go rotating the motor without the clamps in place. You'll probably push the liner back out, and there's every chance you'll damage the sealing ring below it. So yeah, keep your clamps in place. Just allow yourself enough room to put your piston and that in. Yeah, on the other side, obviously, put your caps on, tighten them down to the tension. 43 or 44 foot-pound, I think I went. That's pistons in. It's rotating nicely. Yeah, we can move on. Oil pumps on, guys. Once again, this has been done to death on YouTube. I didn't show much. Just undo 1, 2, 3, 4. Also put a little centre punch mark on your two housings, just so you put them back the same way. Even though it'll pretty much only work one way, and that's the way it is. I replaced these spring washers because one or two of them broke as I was undoing them. So I don't want to take any chances of that in the motor. Pulled it apart, cleaned it out, levelled the surfaces with a honing stone. Cleaned the bottom, put a new gasket, a little bit of sealer, and a heap of, what's the name of the stuff? The engine lube assembly stuff in there as well. So it all seems to be all right. Yeah, we'll keep going. Might put the camshaft in. Well, that's Gippsland for you. Absolutely belting down rain today, freezing cold, 14 degrees. Well, it's not freezing, but it's cold. Yesterday, we had temperatures in the 30s with bushfires and extreme warnings. And yeah, so 24 hours and it's gone from one end of the scale to the other. Anyway, timing cover. Because we're getting to that stage now where we're ready to put that on. The pistons are in, as you know. That's still loose. That's got a gasket behind it, which goes in that area, obviously. I don't want to put any sealer on that yet until the whole thing's ready to assemble. That way all the seal is fresh right through that side and this side. So that means I've got to do the timing cover. I've got the gear just getting washed at the moment in the parts washer. So we'll be giving that a good clean up. They're quite serviceable. A little bit worn, but serviceable. Oh yeah, the motorbike needs a bit of work. So yeah, we're going to clean up the timing cover. We'll pull the governor shafts and that out, check them all out, give it a good clean up. It's filthy, as you can see, and that will be coated in that silver, which is the same colour as the wheels on the tractor, just to offset the motor a little bit. I think it'll look all right with silver, and the sump will be the same colour. Well, as you can see, I've got parts everywhere here. No, actually, most of this is off another little job, a 1968 Land Rover we're just doing the clutch on. I found it was easier to pull the motor than what it was to pull the box, in my opinion, because of welded cross members. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The Fergie, the paint's done on these, as you know, well, on the timing cover and the sump. Get rid of that. That's painted, it's not bolted down yet, it's just sitting there, but come up all right. Should match in nice, and I've done the timing cover. Powder coated the governor linkage, or the two governor linkages. Cleaned up all the nuts and bolts. That's a little activating arm. Cleaned up the oil screen for that. That's got to have that cleaned. But we'll start just doing a little bit of assembly on that, and we'll also put our cam and chain and all that in and time it all and get it ready for all the timing cover to actually go on the front. Yeah, I should be able to do most of that. I'm not waiting on parts or anything. The cylinder head's gone to get machined and the valves done and all of this sort of checks done. So yeah, the motor's not going to be too far off. Got to get a clutch in then, of course, before it can go in. Righto guys, timing a Tea20, and I think this is going to be right. Crankshaft at the top dead centre. It'll be on 1 and 4 obviously at the same time. That's just the gasket and whatnot. Camshaft, I've got, you won't be able to see right down there, but I can see the lobes on the cam are both up, which means that those valves will be rocking, which means that number 1 is on compression stroke. So they are both off cam, or those lifters would be off cam, which says to me, if we've got that mark there, and we have that mark right there on the cam, if we line both them up just loosely at this stage, I'm trying to do this one-handed, but as you can see there, if that one and that one line up, that is timed, as far as I'm aware. So we're going to go with that. And I could check the book. I'm pretty sure that's right. I don't see how else it could go. We'll go with that. But before we can put the cam gear on, we've got to put that plate on. So we'll take that off. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some sealer around these. Well, we'll put some sealer around these areas. Bit of Silastic down there at that gap where that cork went in for the sump. And then we can put that on with 4 bolts down the bottom and probably the 2 up here, the 3 up here on the cam retainer. We'll also pull that in, but I will be putting some sealer on this side and some silicone down there. Well, I reckon that's the cam in and timed. My marks are both lining up there, just a little bit of a turn and that'd be right. There is a little bit of slop in it. What do you want? It's 7 years old. I could have bought a new sprocket and chain set, but I didn't, which is fine. Just got to put that little governor, what's his name, in, the little throw-out thing that activates the governor, and put the slinger on, which is that one, and I'm almost certain she goes, you got to line up the key, I'm almost certain she goes that way. I think if it goes the other way, it'll probably dig into the, yeah, it'll probably, well, it doesn't. Pretty sure it goes up against the housing, no, but we're going to find out. From what I've seen on videos, that's the way she goes. So that should be all right. Put that thing in, some sealer on the gasket, new gasket over there, and we can put the housing on that's all been fixed up. put the bolts in. Timing cover's on, guys. It pulled up nicely. The motor still turns and that. Haven't put the crank pulley on yet. That's got to be cleaned and painted. There's a bit of clearance in the governor arm. That adjustment, I saw somewhere you just screw it in until it just starts to become firm and then stop. But I don't know. I'm going to have to check the book on all of that and make sure I get it right, as does the rest of the adjustments. But that seemed to go on okay. I've misplaced a bolt somewhere and misplaced a nut on that one. But doesn't matter. I'll find them. Yeah, seems to be timed okay, as I say. Pistons at top dead centre, rocking on number 4. Yeah, I think it's starting to look like something that come up all right. I powder coated that link as I did. Yeah, oh, you can't really see it. There's too much shit. Yeah, as I did the rod that goes to the carby, that's powder coated as well. Yeah, it's starting to. Yeah, the motor's starting to look pretty good. Well, I reckon the time's come to put the sump on, guys. Tabs are all bent over. Yep, they're all tight. Oil pumps in and tight. Seals in. Bit of sealer on them. It's elastic on them. New gasket. Pan's all clean. Yeah, let's put it on. Well, the sump went on easy, guys. Just gasket. Bit of sealer both sides. Pull the bolts down nice and evenly. They're longer ones at the front and shorter at the back, I think, from memory. And of course, it'll probably only go one way, but yeah, it's starting to look pretty good, the silver and black. Yeah, as I say, the cylinder head's off getting done up. Yeah, she's starting to look all right. Well, we've got to put this screen in, guys. It had studs and nuts, which, I mean, I guess, they're 70 years old and they look crappy. I pulled all the studs. Some go right through, some don't. I think the bottom ones are blind holes and they go right through. So we'll use sealer on them because that's probably oil up to that level, I don't know. But I'm just going to get bolts and yeah, that'll be better than mucking about trying to... See, half of these are bloody... They're the ones out of it. Crappy and shitty and that. And yeah, no, I think it'll look better with some nice bloody... some nice gold bolts, or even some of those gold anodised bloody bolts or something. Just to offset it. Just something slightly different. But yeah, that's it. Of course, that only goes one way because it's got that hole in it. And as you can just probably make out, that's the oil pump pickup. So that sort of sits in there like so. I've got to get a gasket and all that, which I've got. But yeah, it's getting there. Well, we'll put this oil pump drive in, guys. That is that. Watch, there's a little keyway on the end that holds the gear. So don't lose that or drop it down your motor. Obviously, that's the oil pump end. This will only go one way. Now, I've got that on top dead centre, firing number 1, because I can see the cam rocking at number 4, so that'll be firing number 1. So that can go, that's not offset, so that can go one of two ways. Either that way or that way. Yeah, sorry, okay, yeah, that's pretty straightforward. I thought I might have ended up 180 degrees out. Yeah, no, that's only going to go one way, yeah. All right, or is it? No, that can go, sorry. That can go anywhere on the cam. So I know there's a way to do this. And if you look in there, you'll see that pin. And that is well, that pin's in the middle, but the distributor drive's offset. As you can see, the distributor drive is those two slots. Well, we'll bung it in one way or the other and see what happens. The distributor's got to be done up and cleaned up, so I'll double check all that when I go to put the dizzy in. I think we'll just put it in for the time being, It's easy enough to take out and move. Yeah, we'll worry about timing that when we come to put the Dizzy in, I think. When you're putting that drive and gear in, I put the shaft into the gear first and then drop the whole lot in. Now, it didn't go all the way. Reason for that is it hadn't engaged the oil pump. So what I did, I just put a little bit of pressure on that and rotate the motor, and you feel it drop into the oil pump drive. As I say, look, we'll soon know when you start it if you've got no oil pressure. That's probably what it'd be, but I'm tipping you'd probably have other issues, and I'm also tipping that the distributor wouldn't seat all the way down. So I think you're going to know if it's not engaged. Talking of distributors, we're going to clean this Dizzy up. I think when I bought it, I put new points and condenser in it. I've got new ones anyway, as well as a new set of spark plugs. Oh, that's a link off the governor. Yeah, we're going to pull this apart. That's, you know, I'm not putting it back like that, that's for sure. We'll pull it apart, clean it up. That'll be aluminium. We'll sandblast that and it'll sort of look like that. That will paint black after we've given it a good clean up. But yeah, we'll pull the Dizzy apart, check the centrifugal advance weights and all that sort of thing, and yeah, make it look pretty. Well, there's all the distributor all over the bench, guys. Yeah, it comes apart. The bottom gear is held in by a pin, which looks like that. Unfortunately, some dickhead started drilling it and found out that wasn't the way to do it, so I'll have to replace the pin. No big deal. Yeah, it's not a problem. It's cleaning up the shaft. You'll see, so I've got a drill bit in there. There's actually 2 holes, and I thought, wonder what they're for, and they're obviously for lubrication from what I can tell, but they were blocked, so I've put a 1.5mm drill through them and got a whole heap of dirt out, so they're clear. Check your bearing, that's all right. I'll put grease on that before I reassemble it. Yeah, other than that, yeah, just yeah, clean everything up nice. One distributor housing. Sandblasted it, like I said. That's fine to do that, but just make sure you clean it thoroughly because the sand's pretty fine and it gets into everything, and it will act like grinding paste in your motor, so just be careful. Bit of grease on the bearing, make sure it's forced in, especially after you've cleaned it. And a bit on the shaft. Make sure that spiral is clean. That's actually what pulls oil up into the bushing, I think, from memory. Once your shaft's back in, put your, well, they call it an automatic timing device or whatever. It's just, you know, your normal centrifugal advance. In most distributors that aren't electronic, make sure they're lubricated, move freely, not too much grease or anything. And then you can slide your distributor cam down into it. Make sure you've got a bit of lube in it and this and that. There's also a screw that retains that. So yeah, drop that in, line up the little dowel holes with the holes in those little flyweights, whatever they are. Breaker plate can go in next, guys. Don't tighten up that screw yet, that one, because you've got to put your points and condenser wire behind them. Putting in a new condenser, I'll change that wire. I don't like the look of the plug, so I'll make up a new wire for it and fit that in. Well, there's your new wire, guys. Just put new ends on it, soldered them, and heat shrink them. Put our points in next, then I think they're about 15 thou, and yeah, we'll continue. Points are in, guys, and set to 15 thou. That sealing washer was pretty crappy. Got rid of that and just put a little rubber sort of a thing I had. I had to open up the hole a bit, but it fitted nicely, so that seals the distributor from the weather. remember to screw your little ID plate thing back on. I'll give it a bit of a clean up. All the Ferguson tragics will tell you that 52 means it's from 1952, and the 6 in front of it probably means June. So 652, I suppose that was made. Yeah, put that top back on, your rotor button in, some new split pins in the distributor cap clips, and that part's basically done. Got to clean up the bottom part and the clamp and that little bloody thing and the nuts and bolts, but that's your basic distributor. Well, that's dizzy in, guys. Yeah, it didn't come up too bad. I've got to put those nuts down there. I've got to clean them up. Yeah, it's got to be all timed, of course. Yeah, but it looks okay. I mean, you know, it sort of matches in with the rest of it. That raw aluminium, you know. Yeah, that'll be all right. We'll tinker and get the final adjustments right once we get it running. Just about ready to bung the clutch in, guys. Had the flywheel machine, so that's good. New spigot bearing, so that's fine. Put the 4 bolts in and tightened them, put a bit of Loctite on them and bent over the tabs. Put new spring washers on the pressure plate because they were all broken. We don't want them coming loose. Brand new pressure plate, of course. Just make sure the surface is clean from new. Sometimes they put an anti-rust coating on them. So just a bit of Prepsol or acetone or something. Just wipe it up. Sorry, it's starting to hail here, guys. So if it's starting to get a bit ugly. They wanted about $50 for a clutch alignment tool. I got an old bit of round aluminium and turned it up for, you know, cents probably, and worked like an absolute treat. So yeah, you can always save yourself a quid. You know, this is where lathes and this sort of stuff come in handy. You know, if all has been done correctly, we're ready to marry that up to that up. I know the motor's not completely assembled, doesn't have to be. The head and a lot of that stuff I can do with the motor bolted in place. Cylinder head should be coming this afternoon, actually. The guy who did the flywheel said the head will be ready this afternoon. Probably is now. Thrust bearing's on, new thrust bearing, that's rotating nice. Little bit of grease just on there, not too much, it'll throw out and contaminate the clutch. If everything's lined up, that should just pop straight in with a bit of luck. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, you don't get much easier than that. That motor fell in, so that was good. But a bit of care on the alignment. I just put a motor in that Land Rover and it took a bloody hour to get that lined up. That was a real bastard of a thing. Yeah, she went in easy. I've just got 2 temporary bolts holding it in place. I've got to clean up all the hardware to hold that. You know, and just clean them up, make them nice like those ones. I can't see the sense in doing all that work to put shitty hardware back in it, but yeah, it's starting to look like a tractor. And now that that's on, what was I going to say? Yeah, and start cleaning up all the front end and all of that, and start running a bit of wiring and this and that. And it's, yeah, now that the motor's done, yeah, I can do a hell of a lot more.